Kessler and his ilk, they've kind of retreated into Lafayette Park. Kessler holding his American flag backwards, having an impromptu press conference, while just a few dozen of his followers, they are surrounded by thousands and thousands of others who are in the counter-protest, as you can see live, both sides there here in the Fox News Channel.
And we were talking to Ted Williams, who is still on the phone with us. And Ted, I think you were, making the point that here it is, you had this guy and his group of white supremacists claiming that they were going to be there in D.C. by, in droves, by the hundreds. So, of course, it called for lots of police presence, lots of protection for them and for counter-protesters. In fact, because it was their group last year that ended up killing Heather Heyer, unfortunately, the 32-year-old paralegal there in Charlottesville, Virginia. Well, here they are today, 1 year later. They're now in D.C., across from an earshot of the White House at Lafayette Park. And so, Ted, the question I ask you, based on what I think the point you were leading to, so while everyone has a First Amendment right, and we're not at all trying to quell that, but I do ask you, where is the legal line when you have 30 people who have now created this entire uproar, and how is it that they can be legally allowed to have all of this law enforcement and all of that police presence and those resources on hand being utilized and could potentially incite an enormous amount of violence, and it could be worse. So how are they allowed to do this and create all this havoc?
Well, they are also, and I'd have to use the word unfortunately, closed in the Constitution. Many years ago, the Supreme Court ruled in the decision in Illinois where the Nazis wanted to march through Skokie, Illinois, that they were permitted to do so. And here, try to remember, they had asked for a permit for approximately 400. And yes, it showed up in this minority group of about 30 to 40. But the police have to. Now, this is the problem with the whole situation, and that is the man and woman hour that goes into law enforcement having to protect about 30 to 40 individuals. That's a heck of a lot of money that's being utilized to keep these two groups apart. What you're finding here is that white nationalist group, just as in Skokie, Illinois, with the Nazis, their primary objective is one, and I think that it cannot happen. The counter-protesters, in a way, that these black chuck like idiots, and they would probably cross they came. But unfortunately,
Ted, hold on for me, Ted, because I don't know. I think your phone's breaking up. Do we have Griff or Peter Ducey, guys? Their shots up? Not yet.
One thing I want to point out that,
go ahead.
The strategy by some of these protest groups, Kessler and others, is to just format confrontation and do that under the media eye.
And then you have the other groups there are some groups who are like, give me a reason.
Yes, and then they come out, obviously, to try to get the media attention. And some folks calling it a stage phony protest, Kessler's group that is, doing this on purpose, knowing exactly who will get this type of coverage and that they will try to incite emotions for his cause.
And you mentioned the right word. It is emotions. And when I say the other side saying, give me a reason, because this is so emotionally charged that you have these white supremacists, white nationalists trying to promote their propaganda, their message, and you have other people on the other side highly offended by that, while they have a right to be there. Ted Williams,
and all marking the 1 year anniversary of that tragic death of Heather Heyer, as well as the two Virginia State Police troopers who were there monitoring the unrest and the protests last year, and they were killed when their state trooper helicopter went down.
Yeah, because they were above monitoring the violence, as it turned out, from above. Ted Williams, I think we still have you. We are going to be coming up against a break, but grab onto your thoughts for me, Ted Williams, because after this break, we'll come back to you. I want to hear what you were saying about their right to protest and yet the resources that are being exhausted to protect everyone out there. We are live there, just in earshot across the street from the White House at Lafayette Park, watching these dueling protesters, and we will continue our coverage after this break.